So, welcome to the Project Fit podcast with my guest this week, Rich. Was it Richard Angel? So, what would you prefer, Richard or Richard? Or Rich?
That's a good question, actually. Maybe just Rich is fine, but I can go by either Rich or Richard.
Okay.
Never like Dickie or Dick.
I won't ever call you that. Don't worry.
Unless you're annoyed at me, of course.
So, yeah, just tell me a little bit about your background and why you do what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So really, I guess the best place to start is when I went to university, which was about 100 years ago. I went to uni and one of my mates decided to sign me up to the gym because we needed to chase girls. So I had back then a lot of body confidence issues because I've got a really, really thin frame. You can call it the classic ectomorph body type if you want to go down that route. But yeah, I always struggled to kind of put weight on and look like confident in the mirror. So I joined the gym, did that for 3 years. Saw some, fairly okay results, nothing like amazing. I have very, very, very average genetics. And after I finished uni, I went straight into the corporate world because I went to uni, studied media studies, and then of course you use your media studies degree to get a job in insurance, right? So basically, yeah, exactly. I have no idea what I wanted to do, so it was the first thing that I found.
That came to your mind.
Yeah, so went into that. Quickly found that working 9 to 5 can zap you of a lot of things, including your energy levels and your motivation to want to train. At the same time, also at the time, I had a girlfriend, so that coupled with the job really, really put my body and health into like a really negative spiral. So not only was I like really skinny, but I was also starting to gain weight. So I was like almost skinny fat. And at the time, I'd rather have been one or the other. I'd rather have been either just started off overweight so I can work towards getting like a lean physique, or just being skinny and having to work my way up. But I had this like gut with no muscles. So I had all sorts of body confidence issues, had loads of like IBS symptoms, so a lot of bloating, gas, flatulence, all that kind of thing. So not only that, but the food side of things was starting to get in my way as well. So I had to basically strip my diet back from scratch and start to learn what foods I was struggling with and what foods were going to fit in my diet and what foods, perhaps I needed to let go of. So, from the time, this was back in like 2012 to 2014, I was playing around with different diets. So I've tried pretty much all of them. Tried like gluten-free, dairy-free, carb backloading, intermittent fasting. Never gone as far as veganism or the ketogenic diet, but I have gone really low carb at one stage. Tried to up my dietary fat levels. And I found that none of these were really enjoyable or working. I would always go through do it for like 2 months and then just come back off of it because it was unsustainable. So I finally found the thing that works for me, which is more of the flexible dieting route, where you're just allowing yourself those foods you can bring back into your diet. And you don't feel too restricted with what you're eating. Like for example, like this weekend I was away at a wedding and I never felt like I had to be on point with my diet. I understood that I had these few days where I was going to be away from perhaps optimization of nutrition, but now that I'm back, I can go straight back into it and I don't have to feel like I've let myself down. So I found that worked best for me. About 2016, I got into the health and fitness industry because insurance was boring for me. So went into there, became a personal trainer, and I just, tried to find what I was enjoying. And I think for me, the things I enjoy most in this industry is helping people optimize their diet, improve their energy levels, and make them feel confident in the mirror. And so that all was packaged into weight loss. And really, I help women do this. I have helped like guys in the past, but I seem to resonate the most with the kind of the feminine energy, I suppose is the way of putting it. That's kind of where I'm at the moment, just trying to help women as best I can and try and drive down this obesity epidemic because, I think there's so much misinformation and disinformation out there that people are just becoming so confused. And I don't blame them. I really don't. I mean, I was lucky because I went through a really decent nutrition qualification and I've had some really good coaches in the past myself. So, I need to instill that back to people so they can just feel a little bit better in themselves.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's an exciting journey, and, I hope to make a difference for people out there.
Cool. So you run the Strong and Lean Academy.
I do.
Yeah, you're the boss. You're the boss man. And as you said, it's principally women that you coach. What kind of age range and what kind of backgrounds do they come from?
Yeah, so typically, I'd say it's anything from. I mean, I've coached, the early 30s all the way to the early 60s.
Yeah.
But it seems to be at the moment, for most people, it seems to be the 50s to the 60s.
Okay.
People that have really typically, and I'll be honest with you, I think 90% of the people that inquire or come to me have come from a slimming club background. And they've always gone there. They've always, had really, really good results. But then 3 years later, the 3 stone they lost, they've just put back on immediately.
Yeah.
And really, my job then becomes, let's completely unwind everything that they've taught you, or that you've learned. Let's break it down and make it as simple as possible, and start to just understand the basics of nutrition, mindset, lifestyle, and training. And yeah, I think sometimes, I don't know, like they go through this journey, but it's like, I wish you'd just come to me like straight away, rather than me have to then like completely unwind everything you learnt about tracking progress, the fluctuations of weight gain / weight loss, and how it's not this continuous journey. It's an up and down thing. As long as its kind of trajectory is going down, then that's the important thing. But yeah, just trying to essentially brainwash them.
Okay, and so you mentioned that you tried quite a few of the kind of fad diets. What do you think are the biggest challenges with people doing these fad diets? For the average Joe, or Joette, as it were.
Josephine.
We coach women generally, predominantly. So what do you think are the biggest challenges for people right now?
The biggest challenge is, how do they feel when they've done it, and then they go back to the way they were before?
Yep.
That for me is the biggest challenge for people, because I couldn't imagine going through all that effort, all that restriction, all that rigidity, for them to get to X weight or Y dress size, and then have to lose it all because they haven't instilled new habits.
Yep.
So I think the biggest challenge is trying to explain to them, or at least come across that the best way to change is to change. It's like changing your environment, change who you are as a person, and rather than taking something and then just like almost borrowing it for X amount of weeks or months,
like a plaster almost. It's almost like I only put a little band-aid on it for this 6 weeks before my holiday, and then I'll rip the band-aid off again after my holiday. And
100%.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, and why not just? I mean, holidays are an interesting one. It depends on how much you have to lose, right? So if you're going on holiday and you think to yourself, I've been dieting for a long time now, like 9 months, maybe I could have a week off, then there's nothing wrong with that. People build themselves up so much for like holidays. It's like, I need to look like this, but it's like, just enjoy it. And then what's the rush?
Yeah. But what do you think about it? It seems like society has these ingrained cultural rules about when you need to be in shape, right? So you need to be in shape for a wedding, you need to be in shape for some birthdays, and then you need to be in shape for a holiday. Like, it seems like we only get in shape for those things. Oh, and Christmas, the Christmas party. Got to be in shape for the Christmas party. What do you feel that kind of drives the wrong behaviors in people?
I think it's almost a natural thing, isn't it, for humans to want to, I mean, at these social events, to be the best at show or whatever. Do I think it's an unnatural or a almost damaging thing? Yeah, I do. I do kind of feel that. Could you stretch those periods of time out and maybe just make it for the whole year? Yes, I do. And I think that sometimes people put too much pressure on themselves when they're going into these periods of time. Especially like, I think weddings is, got the classic bridezilla. mentality of
Yeah.
I've got to like, be it, make the weight, I suppose is the best way of putting it, or, make sure that my dress is actually fitting. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, so when did you start your journey? When did you, wanted to lose weight? And it's like, well, I started, I'm getting married in 8 weeks. I started weeks ago. It's like, why didn't you start 19 months ago?
Yeah.
And just almost instill these habits, and you're not having to worry too much about eating celery and only celery for the next 8 weeks of your life.
That sounds like hell, eating celery. But
I mean, it's the worst food. It really is. Like, I'd rather just eat ice cream and do it like that, because you can still lose weight on ice cream.
Really? No.
Yes, true. Yeah.
Who would have thought it? Yeah, but see, as you know, I have a character, a fictional character, but I think she's very real, called Shelley from down the road. And I think people's friends, like, why do people go to their friends for nutrition advice rather than a professional? I wouldn't go. Well, actually, you can see I cut my hair. I made a mistake. I should have gone to professional. I shouldn't have tried to do it myself. But when it comes to fitness and fat loss and stuff, why do you think people listen to their mates more than they would a professional?
Because it's easier.
Okay.
This is much, much easier, because they've got this almost trust with them, I feel. And sometimes there's like a barrier, I feel, like when they're trying to reach out to someone that's perhaps professional. But this day and age, and I get this all the time with like Facebook and Instagram, there's like professionals that, for me, like they're trying to, I get this a lot, trying to sell like the shakes, the pills, everything, and they're reaching out to me. And I have a look on their profile, and like, for me, I'm by no means like this ridiculously shredded model, but you've got to walk the talk, right? You've got to like,
got to do some training or something, right? Yep.
Exactly. You've got to like at least sort of show that you know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But when someone's peddling all these pills and they look really unhealthy, and they look like they need to almost do some work themselves, I kind of feel like the new professional is this, like you say, is it the Shelley down the road?
Shelley down the road, yeah.
Down the road, yeah. And people look for quick wins, don't they? So if Shelley down the road saying to me, or saying, take this pill, it's going to solve all your problems, it's like, well, that's really easy. You don't have to do any training or anything. And it just becomes this, it's just an easy barrier to entry. So,
but what's interesting, so, I've got a son, and I'm always saying to him, hey, son, you've got to do the work to get the result you want. But it's just interesting how adults will say to a child, hey, look, son, you got to do the work. Yeah, you got to be patient, do the work. But then on the other hand, we were running for these quick fixes. A bit of a
yes, it's all the millennials. That's the problem. It's us millennials that's the issue. We're all entitled.
It's true though, because you can get because back in the day you used to get your food. I'd have to go down the road and meet my mum at B Jams. I don't know if you remember B Jams. You're probably a bit younger than me. But now you can just press a button and it's here. So
yeah, and I feel like, and that is one of the biggest things. It's one of the biggest factors for the obesity epidemic. This sedentary life now, where life has become so simple. Less people are getting out and moving about. Like, technology is driving us to be more, inside a lot more and not getting out into nature. It's becoming really, really easy to become lazy, and it can be quite a tough thing to break that sometimes.
Yeah,
just because of how much pain you're in, and how much you want it. But yeah, definitely there are a lot of factors in 2019 and beyond that are going to really, really force people to rethink how they live their lives. Like for me, for example, I used to come home and from work and just play Assassin's Creed or sit there and look on the YouTubes or whatever for 4 hours or whatever. But now, like, make it I have because predominantly I work from home. I have to get out and go into the sun or into the rain, whatever it is, like, as much as possible. Because if you're starting the day at like 9 a.m. and you're commuting to work, getting to work, sitting down for another 8 hours, commuting back home, sitting down again on your iPhone and watching Netflix, it's a very, very, very damaging cycle to break. So it's very, very important that people are more aware of it.
And I think the problem with us humans at the minute is that we don't do anything until something's broken. So, but we'll go and fix our iPhone. I mean, if the iPhone's broken, we're like, oh my god, the iPhone's broke. But if we run up the stairs and we're like going, oh, it's all right, I can sort that out another day. So,
Yeah.
why do you think people do that? Why do you think we take our health for granted so much?
I'm quite lucky because I've never felt like that. It could be environmental. So if you're surrounded by very similar types of people to yourself, whether it's your friends or your family or, housemates or, whoever, you can get stuck in that same cycle. It's like smoking. Like, how can people like in 2019 not know that it's absolutely horrendous for you, but people still do it anyway? It becomes a crutch, doesn't it? It becomes like this short-term stress release for people to get them out of the problems. But in actual fact, it's a negative feedback loop, because the habit that they're trying to do to reduce their stress is actually increasing their stress.
Yeah.
But I guess because, and there's this famous saying, I might butcher it, but it's like, so like it's like a cartoon, and there's a guy talking to his doctor, and he says, so tell me straight, doc, how long do I have left before I can stop? I have to stop ignoring you. And it's so true. Like, I think the thing about health is it's because it's not until it's too late that people change. That's the problem. Like, because people don't see it every day because they're used to themselves. They don't notice it. It's usually over time when it becomes an issue that people will start to then look at the change.
I kind of find that people will ignore it. So it's like paying that bill almost. I'll leave it until, before you know it, you got to pay out 100,000 quid, and you're like, oh, sugar. But I think people notice it, but it's that thing of, I can fix it tomorrow. I can leave it for a bit. And then maybe people can go, oh, do you know what? I can go and do it on YouTube because there's a YouTube video that so-and-so celebrity's done, and I can just copy that. So I think sometimes free information can also make it feel like you don't have to do anything about it. That makes sense?
Yeah, 100%. There's so much information out there that you could get lost in it forever. Very, very true.
Yeah. So, like you say, like we said earlier, we can go to Shelley down the road for advice. And I've had people come to me and go, oh, Greg, I can do this for free. But 6 years later, they're still going, oh, Greg, I need to go and sort this out. And I'm like, I'm sure you said you were going to do that. You're going to do that thing you said you were going to do. So what is it about them maybe actually investing in their health that actually makes people do stuff?
I would say it's a combination of things. I'd say, like, accountability is so, I think it's such at least at the beginning stages of a journey, is really, really vital. Like, if you don't have someone there to like check in on you and make sure that you're doing it, it's very, very easy to lay off and not bother.
Yeah.
But the difference, I guess, is between like yourself and Google is that Google will tell you 15 million ways to lose weight. But good luck with trying to decipher 15 million diets, because most people do it for 2 months and be like, well, that's boring, I'll try something else. Haven't learned anything. Haven't learned the nuances of how to actually sustainably diet, or at least change their lifestyle so that they can get to the desired weight or metric that they want.
Yeah.
And I'd say for you as well, you've got the education. Like, you'd be able to say and decipher like what's BS and what's the truth. I think having that critical thinking muscle is really important. Like, I think we all fall into that trap, don't we? Where it's like, oh, I've read this latest article. It says HIIT workouts are now more optimal for me than maybe going for like a walk. And it's like, okay, so they've taken a study, looked at it. I haven't, there's so many things wrong with it. Like, well, what if a person doesn't like, running ridiculously amounts on a treadmill? What if someone's got an injury? What if someone's like really overweight or obese? Is that going to be beneficial for them, or is, you know, some other different modalities of training going to be a lot more safer, and a lot more less taxing on the nervous system?
Yep.
So with the internet, everyone's got a soapbox now. Everyone's got a microphone, and one bit of information can spread for thousands of people when it could actually just be, you know, wrong.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned it earlier, like wrong for that person. So I think obviously the skill that I guess we have is listening to what the study says, but applying that to the person. And I think that's probably the biggest skill, and probably the biggest skill you have with your clients is going, well, actually, you're stressed out all day. You know, you're a manager you're, you know, senior manager in a big company. Going home and doing a HIIT workout might not be the best. Maybe you should go for a walk.
100%. Walking's the best.
Oh, walking's legendary. Absolute legend of a modality for exercise and health that people should do more of.
Yeah. And I think, like, for me, like this year, I said to myself, let's just go for a fat loss phase and just have a bit of fun. So starting in February, and it's now, you know, getting towards the latter end of summer. I lost 13 kilos, but I haven't done that much cardio. Like, people ask me all the time, like, oh, how much cardio have you been doing? I'm like, 40 minutes a week. I've been just going for walks and watching my food. I don't need to do all these crazy, like, things you see on Instagram with, like, burpees to squats to thrusts to shoulder press to, you know, prowler pushes to, like, all this crazy stuff that just sells because it looks sexy.
And I think that's the challenge, isn't it? I mean, let's be honest. If we look at most good programs, there's going to be a press in there, a pull, rotation, a lunge, a squat, and a hip hinge.
Yeah, just do those, literally.
Yeah. But everyone wants all these sexy moves, and I think I spent half my life being tagged into Instagram posts with someone flying through the air, and I'm like, yeah, and like, can you do that?
That's impressive. Someone's flying through the air.
Yeah, it was some guy who was doing battle ropes, and he did this thing, and he just jumped up in the air, and it was all slow motion down. And yeah, it's great, but I think that's the problem, isn't it? There's information and there's entertainment, and I think people look at entertainment as information. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. With, you know, like Daily Mail, sorry. And Instagram I think Instagram is probably the worst for that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on kind of the Instagram generation and the stuff.
I had to severely restrict to remove myself from that world, because I guess from a body composition perspective, you're seeing the highlights all the time, right? So you're literally seeing perfection after perfection, and it's just not realistic. If you walk around the local town, how many people actually look like that? Like, all the time, like 0.01% of people. Yeah, it's really damaging as well. You get this, like, you almost get like FOMO, don't you? Like this fear of missing out with like, oh, I should be looking like this. This is like the optimal. And it's like, no.
Yeah,
just be healthy. Enjoy, get to something that you feel is sustainable, and just enjoy it and reap the rewards of good health. And you know, if you can get stuck in hashtags, right? You can literally just scroll through them and see like workout after workout after workout after workout. But as we've already aforementioned, like, just worry about the basics. Don't worry too much about all this fluffy stuff that gets thrown at you left, right, and center. If you do that, then you can severely change, like, yourself, and you can change the information that's going into your head, which has become so streamlined because you've removed so much stuff. I did that. That was the start of my journey. It was like, I need to follow 400 YouTubers to make sure that I'm getting all the information. And I could have just followed one or two and really got some decent advice. Oh,
I can't tell you how much that's changed for me especially the last 6 months or so. I went through a shredding phase of get rid of everybody, unfollow. And when you boiled it down, most of it was actually the same.
Yeah, but it's like FOMO again, isn't it? Like, what if they release this new like thing that's like the greatest thing ever? But you know what to do, you know all the answers, but you're just it's almost, you're stuck in that paralysis by analysis, but you're also stuck in like, I need to know the information. I need to have all of the knowledge to do it. But it's just like, just go and do it.
Yeah, and I think that's the value of being a coach, right? I think you've probably had this as well. We have this imposter syndrome where we're like, are we good enough coaches? And then when you get someone the result and you look back at what they did, you're like, well, we didn't do anything crazy. We just got them consistent. I don't know if that's something that comes into your head often. Like you feel like you're not the best coach because you haven't given them all this flashy stuff, but actually what they really need is consistency.
Yeah, I think I just remind myself pretty much all the time that my knowledge, what a potential new client needs, and what the women of the world need is, just someone there that has that knowledge that's a couple of steps ahead. I don't need to be like this scientist guy that's reading all the studies and is trying to get geeky with, post-workout carbohydrate replenishment or something like that. It's like, all I need to do is worry about the basics. So this is typically what I do with people, the women that I coach is, we look at the fundamentals first. Like, what are the areas that most people are struggling with? It's always the same areas: food or nutrition, training, sleep, stress. Simple as that.
Yep.
You fix all those areas, you pretty much fix 95% of someone's problems.
Totally agree. Yeah, you got a high five from me, even a hallelujah from me.
For the screen.
Yeah, from the screen. But because I have that sometimes with my clients. I'm like, it's almost weird. You almost get bored of saying the same things, but like you said, it's 96% of the population have the same problems, and they just don't realize it. So
yeah. And that's the thing, because you're saying the same thing over and over, because they're like looking at something new. It's like, oh, there's this new thing in the Daily Fail, as you say, like it's telling me that actually water's going to kill me. Yeah, just to go over that again, hydration, it's pretty good for you. Water is, healthy. I would recommend, don't go to news outlets for your health information. Go to like a practitioner, someone that's pragmatic in the area. Listen to them. Like, again, you touched on this before, like journalists have got these demanding deadlines, and most people, when they read it, think it's gospel, but they're literally just trying to, they'll go through like a research paper, but read like the first 3 lines or like the abstract and just decipher that X equals Y. Mm-hmm. There's so much more information that you need to go through. And there's a really good book. I don't know if you've read it before, but Ben Goldacre, his name is Bad Science. Yeah. Like, I'd recommend everyone gets a copy of that, and just that will really flex your critical thinking mind and change the way that you perceive like information out there. Really, really highly recommend it.
It's actually funny. It's something I'm thinking about. So one of my new programs that I'm bringing out is going to be, I'm actually thinking about giving my clients one of those books as part of the process, as part of their onboarding, and like they've got to read, a certain bit of it just to see how that applies to real life. Because I think, there's a couple of websites on Facebook called Brightside, and I get emails every day going, Greg, what do you think of this? I'm like, yeah, makes sense. But how's it work for you? Silence.
So what's Brightside?
It's like a Facebook page, and they put out loads of health information. So you'll see things like eat these foods to shrink your belly and that kind of stuff. And you're like, seriously?
Got it.
But of course, the people that we deal with are drawn to it like, I don't know, like moth to a flame. But by the same token, we're obviously putting out content which is, look, the basics, but that's not interesting because it's not new. So
it's not exciting enough, is it? And again, this is your entertainment versus information thing. It's like trying to break through and get your message out there in the world of health and fitness, and these days is really freaking tough. Yeah, really freaking tough. It's hard to battle against like almost the bigger commercial clubs and like the pages that you sort of mentioned before. It's like all you need to worry about, as we mentioned, nutrition, training, sleep, stress. Like there's nothing about this fat burning stuff that's remotely true.
Well, you think about it. I mean, here's a classic one. I think the NHS. I mean, obviously, I used to work in the NHS, right? And obesity and diabetes is crippling the NHS. But you're like, well, if the NHS is in such big trouble, they'd go to this Brightside website and go and just take all the stuff off that and just implement it. It'd be fixed. There you go. Done.
But why aren't they?
Exactly that. Oh, but it's a big secret. You know, this product is brand new to the UK. I'm like, oh, seriously?
Yeah.
You know, the
next aloe vera cleanse.
Oh. So what's your thoughts on the MLM? That's something that's just, very dear to my heart.
MLM as in the multi-layered thingy.
Yeah, Herbalife.
Yeah, got it.
Prove it. You know, at Clean 9, whatever it was.
Yeah. Again, it's pretty much the same problems. You're stuck in there for the rest of your life. If you don't, again, educate yourself on what it is you're doing and the fundamental nutrition, you're just going to get roped into it, and you're going to be spending all your money and time on something that you don't need, literally. You know, I've had a few battles in the past with Herbalife and my own stuff, and it's you know, they're such a conglomerate, aren't they? It's such a powerful thing. Sometimes it's hard to break through because they have such strong positioning in the world. Like they've got all these endorsed celebrities that don't take their products.
Yeah.
They've got all these members that are pushing it, that pretend to be your friend when in actual fact they're just trying to get you money and just trying to get you signed up. Yeah. So yeah, my thoughts are that, you know, it's very damaging. Nutrition has just become so complicated. So complicated.
Yeah, I found recently that I'm upsetting people recently because I just go, yeah, it's great, it's calorie deficit. But it's almost like they want me to say that it's something more magical to help them. No, seriously, I've recently encountered a lot that if I just say something's just a calorie deficit, people get really angry about it. Like, no, it's not a calorie deficit. Well, yeah, it is. You're eating less food, right? Yeah.
100%. That's really good. I like that response.
Just say, yeah, it's calorie deficit. And what?
Yeah. It's so true. It's literally
So I think, so would you think, what's probably the biggest challenge you think so if a client walked up to you now and is going to do the Strong Lean Academy, what's kind of the biggest challenge? I mean, obviously you said rewiring the brain. What will be the next biggest challenge that you found that people...
I think the biggest challenge is just explaining to them what sustainability is, and giving them the understanding that you can't lose because a lot of these online programs now are like, you can lose like 10 kilos in 4 weeks or whatever it is, something stupid. And I'll just have to bring them back down to earth and explain to them, like, you know, a really, really good metric is, or a good target even, is like 0.5 to 1% of your body weight per week. And that's a really, really good amount. And people are seeing all these like fantastical success stories, whether they're true or not is, you know, another completely different topic. But, you know, just explaining to them that I have to basically, if you're like really overweight or obese, like there's a lot of rewiring that needs to be done. So you can't have miracles overnight. We have to like start from the start and like build on one thing after another. Like, I can't just throw the entire kitchen sink at you and expect it all to stick. It's not.
Yeah, and even if they're not massively overweight, we're trying to undo 30, 40 years of what the stories they've been told, stories they tell themselves, stuff they've seen. I think I read somewhere the average woman at 40 has tried to like 55 times the diet or something crazy like that.
That's mad.
Which is mental. And obviously 95% of those people will go back to how they were.
Yeah. I think as well, something that I get a lot of feedback from my clients, that's just like, oh, it's just the way you teach, it's just so simple. There's none of this really confusing stuff. It's like you eat less and you move more. While that's an important part of it, obviously there's a lot of, like we've touched on, there's a lot of different parts of like how to change behavior, lifestyle changes, how you perceive yourself, taking habits and actually then keeping them for the rest of your life. But not having to just overcomplicate things that a lot of these things do. Like you've got to now, you know, I can only eat from certain X palette. You've now got to remove a food group. You can only eat at this time or then, or it's just like, dude, it's like, it's just keep it simple. Honestly, that's one of my best bits of advice to people, is just don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah, I think with the advent of fasting, because all of a sudden, I feel like keto's on the way out slowly but surely. People realize they love carbs, right? Look, let's be honest. The clients I deal with are mainly white and Irish. I've got a lot of those clients. I've got West Indian and I've got Indian. All those people love their carbs. They're not Eskimos. So keto's on the way out a little bit. But all of a sudden, fasting's back in. So you got people like Jason Fung, who's a nephrologist, a kidney specialist, who's now a nutrition expert, talking about fasting. And I'm like, yeah, if it fits you and it works for you,
great.
But ultimately, it's just a calorie deficit.
Yeah, and then you get like the buzzwords like autophagy and cellular cleaning and all these different buzzwords. And again, like, I guess the latest on that is, if you are fasting, let's say you fast from like 8 p.m. to 12 p.m. the next day, is your fat oxidation or your ability to burn fat going to be increased in that period? Yes. But then when you're bringing the rest of your food in for the rest of the day, does your ability to burn fat at that stage increase? No, it comes back down. So it's just a balancing act. It's exactly the same. Yeah. And this is shown in the literature time and again, that comparing a fasting approach to just a standard dieting approach where calories are matched and I think proteins matched as well, it's exactly the same results. Yeah, exactly the same. But again, it's just sexy, isn't it? Like, oh, I'm in autophagy. This is exciting. Oh, it's like, it just sounds really cool, doesn't it? It sounds like this amazing thing.
We need to put some more sexy words in our stuff. I did have one question actually for one of my clients. Actually, how dare she?
How dare she?
Yeah, how dare she? No, I'm joking.
We'll allow it.
Well, hey, I know you know your stuff, right? So her question was, how do you deal with losing your mojo for training? What advice would you give?
Yeah, so I would ask the person, how long have they been training for, and have they been training hard for a while? Mm-hmm. What it could just be is they're under recovered, so they might just need to back off for a bit. Mm-hmm. I'm going to assume they do some sort of like 3 to 4 times per week.
Yeah,
like training plan.
About 3 times a week. Yeah,
3 times a week. Yeah. So I would just I would ask the question, how are you sleeping? Do you feel good throughout the day? Are you energized throughout the day? Do you look forward to training? Obviously, you said no in this case. And I would take a few of those variables and say, if it's like, I'm not looking forward to training, I feel really tired, I'm not sleeping very well, then I would back off the training for a week and just, potentially drop a lot of the rep sets and the total volume, and just either just do a bit more walking or just have a little bit of fun in the gym, just lower the
intensity, maybe
just improve your fatigue management. Mm-hmm. Because what seems to be happening is, as you go through training, your fatigue's going up. What you need to worry about is that the fatigue will just keep going up and your performance won't improve.
Yeah.
So by having like almost what we call a deload week, you can just reduce your fatigue and you can go again the following week. But if it's, I would ask myself as well what my why is. Mm-hmm. So if they're, just doing it because husband told them to, it's not really a strong enough why.
Yeah.
So your training is going to become boring. But if you keep going back to your North Star as to why you're doing it, if the client's wanting to drop 2 stone, then that should be the North Star. The North Star is, I want to, be able to play around my kids or play with my grandkids and live out the rest of my life, whereby I'm not like having to worry about with a walking stick and feeling like completely incapacitated that can't get about. That's a really strong why. It's a really, really strong desire to want to keep training. So I would go back to like what it is and why it is you're doing it. But then I would also look at just maybe the program. How long have you been running the program for? Has it been something you've run for like the last year? Mm-hmm. And if so, is there room to perhaps maybe mix things up a bit? Maybe do some periodization. So maybe do like 4 months of, X program, and then maybe 4 months of another different style, and just keep things simple. I'm going to assume that the client is probably like Gen Pop that just wants to just wants to like stay fit and healthy and look good.
Yep.
Like, so she doesn't have to worry about like daily undulating periodization or anything like that.
Yeah,
But maybe
or anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe like during the summer, maybe get out a bit more. Don't worry about so much about being in the gym, and do some like circuits outside. Maybe during the winter, do more bodybuilding style stuff, and just mix it up as much as possible. Just find out what you enjoy. Always train to what you enjoy, and then I would go from there.
I'd actually argue that just a tiny bit. Just I think there are times where sometimes you have to do the stuff you don't want to do to get the result you want. So yeah,
100%.
I totally appreciate what you're saying. I think you're totally right that if you found the style of exercise and training you love, by all means do it. But I guess if you want to maybe pack on, I don't know, some pounds of muscle, then you're going to have to go to maybe a slightly more bodybuilding style type of training.
100%. Yeah, if you have a specific goal, then you need to go for that. There's no point in a bodybuilder doing like, I don't know, loads of yoga.
Yeah,
it's not proof that it's not specific to their goal.
Yeah.
And so 100%. I would agree with that.
Yeah. I think it's just sometimes, I think with everybody, Gen Pop, whatever the client is, sometimes I think there needs to be a realization that, well, if you say you want this, then there are going to be things you necessarily don't like to do to get there. There's going to be, because that's what we do, right? We do a program, no matter what it is, and then we skip all the bits we don't like. We're like, oh, I won't do that bit. I'll do that bit. Really?
Just donkey kickbacks and pull throughs and all the glute stuff.
Yeah, so just some nice glute activation that's going to give me buns of steel. That is, yeah, totally agree with that. Yeah, that's crazy. So is there anything else you wanted to kind of cover and talk about? I think how long we got left? We've been rapping for about 30 minutes, right? Just go.
No idea. I guess I guess some of the biggest. The last point you mentioned was really good. Like, you almost have to do the things that maybe you don't want to do. And I think one of the biggest blocking factors for people is they become complacent. They don't do the thing day in and day out that is going to serve them to their end goal.
Mm-hmm.
And if they just kind of accept that there's going to be some boring, laborious, mundane stuff in the journey, then it becomes a really, really enjoyable one. It's quite ironic. It's almost like a paradox.
Yeah.
But success in whatever area is boring.
I know, it's crazy, right?
Mm.
We wrap up fitness and health in all this fancy bows, but actually it's all about that time you spend in the trenches doing the shit you have to do that no one sees on Instagram. I think that's the big takeaway, I think, for me, is that, when no one's looking, those are the things you have to be doing.
Yeah, and it's the same for sports stars. You only see the highlights, don't you? Like Roger Federer or these footballers and whatever. You only see them when they're playing. You don't necessarily see them training day in and out, and all of the sacrifices they're making, perhaps with their own family, friends, doing things that perhaps they want to do, eating the things that they want to eat, going out and partying all the time. A lot of that is they have to sacrifice it because the goal for them is not important. I know we're talking about athletes now, but some of the same things probably still apply. Like, are you going out 4 times a week for meals and family events and stuff? Are you not? Would it be more beneficial to maybe say no a lot more than you are, so that you can stay on track? And that just becomes a really important part of the journey, is understanding that sometimes you have to say no.
Yeah, I think the myth of balance is a big one. Oh, I look pretty in the sun. The myth of balance is this whole big myth that you can have everything. And I think there's a path that goes, well, you're going to be potentially unhealthy, unwell, ache a lot and be in pain and not feel comfortable in your clothes. Or there's a path that is, you're going to be fit, strong, healthy, enjoy life, feel sexy, but you have to decide which road you're going to go down. You can't really walk down the middle. You have to.
If you go for mixed goals, you're going to get mixed results.
Yeah.
you're just gonna pluck each area, and you're not gonna actually strive in one particular field.
Mm-hmm.
You're just gonna flirt around in this like weird, meshy nowhere, and you never actually make really strong progress in a particular area. But that doesn't mean like you have to be like on the ball diet wise all the time. Like,
No.
you could get to a range like for a weight or a dress size or whatever, and go up and down in that, with not dramatically, but just stay within a ballpark, and then bring some of these things back in. 100%. You know, look at your life and make a decision.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. I think people are scared to almost make that decision. In some cases, they're kind of scared to just back themselves, because I think we were talking about it recently with Rich Wellington about having to do the things that other people don't or won't do to get what you want. And I think people need to get more comfortable with being uncomfortable.
It's the unsexy that makes you sexy.
Amen. Oh, I love it. Love it. Love it. So where can I find you on the socials and stuff?
Yeah. So Instagram, I am Richard Angel Official. Facebook, literally just Richard Angel. LinkedIn, Strong and Lean Academy. Mm-hmm. And website is www.strongandleanacademy.com, with some blogs on there and other bits and bobs that can, get you started on your journey. There's like a free 7-day plan on there and recipe guide just to kickstart, because I know a lot of people struggle with the actual beginning of it. But if they get like a little really quick win, then that can then spur on really strong change in people. So yeah, head over there.
Awesome. And then what's your one kind of saying to live by? Just to wrap up.
Good question.
Not bad, is it?
Very, yeah. I guess for me it would be, I've kind of got two, actually. I've got two. And I don't always...
As it's you can have two.
Oh, thank you very much. And do you know what? I don't always listen to them, which is my own something I have to work on because I'm not perfect. But one is just be easy. Life's fine. Life isn't you're not doom and gloom. There's always ways that you can get out of the slump you're in. You're not there forever. And the other one is just 1% every day.
Yeah.
So if you're just making a little small change all the time, every day, by the year's end, if you add those 1% up, it's going to be 300% improvement.
Yep. That's awesome. That's awesome. So I'm hoping that I can get you back on here at some point. Maybe we can have
I'd love to.
Maybe have a freeway with Rich. Could you imagine?
You'd have to ask him. I know he's a busy guy.
I'm sure he'd make time for us too.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. But yeah, we'd love to come back on and chat and see where the industry goes. Hopefully it goes in a really, really positive direction. But, I know there's a lot of things I'd like to see improve with it. But it just takes time and a strong message.
Cool. All right, maybe next time we'll do a more targeted discussion around something. And yeah, I think that'd be fun.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good.
Well, all right. Thank you for coming on. And
you're welcome, buddy.
We'll catch up soon. Thank you very much.
Yeah, talk soon, buddy.
Talk soon. Cheers, mate.